We could probably bring some statistical numbers to prove the statement in the title. Something like 63% of matches you play will be a loss, so get used to it. But first of all, it's quite doubtful that there are some reliable numbers that properly reflect the situation. And in addition to this, the video is not so much about that. And also, it's not about convincing you guys that diving into the whirl of negative emotions with every lost match is a self-destructive habit. Okay, the video is not only about that, as there certainly is something to say on this layer. Let's just say that losing a fighting match is a much more valuable lesson than getting an easy win. Everyone can follow the path of simple emotional satisfaction. Yes, I'm better than you. Some effective tricks exist for this, but it's a highway to nowhere. Take it and throw away hopes for improved skills and better performance. Choosing a more difficult approach that often leads to losses, it's something you might be interested in for quick and actually exciting progress in the fighting games genre. And this video is mainly about ways to stick to that approach. Many fighting games, especially of the modern era, have some shortcuts for beginners and casual occasional players. The developers want people to enjoy their game from the very beginning, feel the power at their fingertips, and get some motivation to grow and improve. It could be a simple auto combo, like in Dragon Ball FighterZ. You can just mash the button and your character does something cool on the fighting ground. Grand Blue Fantasy Versus has the same mechanic with quite a straightforward conversion into a special. A bit more complex approach is to teach players the simplest button sequence, like punch, slash, heavy slash, and Guilty Gear Strive. The exact simplified mechanics may be different depending on the game, but they are always quite effective, to a certain extent. They are so effective that abandoning them leads to lost matches on the beginner level. You still don't have enough experience for proper strings and combos, even if you practice something in the training mode, and your general level still allows you to rely on the auto combo thing a lot and eventually get wins. Just let yourself lose. Don't avoid L's by sliding back into cozy habits of mashing a button. See yourself getting damage, missing inputs, and dropping combos. If you can learn to lose because you try to bring proper tech to your personal active moveset, it's eventually a big W for you. And the same thing can be said about spamming specials and supers. Let's take the example of Brawlhalla. The characters here can perform highly damaging signature attacks, which are slow and easily punishable. But on the beginner and even intermediate level, people don't really know how to deal with this threat. Spamming signatures feels like an effective technique. You avoid losing in a tricky way because you need to practice movements and combos with light attacks. You use the spamming tactic, you win, but you lose in the long run. Most games have this feature. In Street Fighter 6, specials should mainly follow normals, coming from them to be safe. But at some level, just spamming them may feel even satisfying. It's again an illusion. Learn to lose while following more advanced tricks. Don't avoid this opportunity to practice on the battlefield. Such L's are much more valuable than W's, but with mashing and spamming specials and supers. As for real mashing, you know, when you almost chaotically press everything within the reach of your thumb, just don't. You may still win if your opponents don't know how to deal with this madness, but that's a blank experience. And if you watch this video, you probably don't want to get stuck in it. It doesn't really matter how exactly a new fighting game starts for you. Someone enjoys exploring story modes to know the world and try out different characters. Someone jumps directly into the multiplayer experience. But most players start with quickly finding a character they enjoy the most. And enjoyment in this scenario means they get initial victories with them. It's quite satisfying indeed, and rejecting this easy path may very often lead to many losses, a decrease in rank, and yeah, emotional instability. What should you do as a fighting game player? You should bravely take this path of experiment, make it through the losses, and unveil fresh aspects of the same game. It would be great to say here that stepping beyond your first character will certainly bring you more victories. Well, eventually it'll happen, but you may want to return to your first choice for this. You will be a different player at that point though. The experience itself is worth the effort, and you never know what discoveries you will make. Shoto characters offer an awesomely comfortable beginning period. They give you all sorts of tools, and the execution with them is somewhat simplified and more accessible. But you, as a player, may be different. Having a focus on zoning or rushdown styles may bring you bigger success, but you will never figure that out if you don't learn how to lose experimenting with characters you still don't know. When you love wins and avoid losses, there are some ways to not guarantee you a W, but still have some really good chances to simply dominate in a match. It could be smurfing, sure, but let's not start with this deeply doubtful practice. Every game has lots of modes, even within the online multiplayer category. Sometimes you want to go to ranked matches and feel an intense fight, but with players of relatively the same level. It's a good place to be. Sometimes you walk around an online lobby and meet beginners who create rooms for casual fun, and you rush into them to enjoy the immense power you suddenly obtain, which is alright, as those beginners also have to learn how to lose. But for the purposes of your evolution as a player, this is kind of an empty joy. Try to be on the receiving side and look for strong opponents who are objectively better than you and more experienced. A match with such an opponent will teach you a lot. The difference should not be huge, otherwise the formula doesn't work too well, and the opponent should also enjoy playing with you, not to make the joy empty for them. This opportunity is often available in casual fights. Head to such a section in Guilty Gear Strive, and you'll find yourself in a pool of sharks. Play with them, lose to them, and return to ranked as a better player. As for smurfing, it happens. There's no way to deny this. Players reach a specific level where the matches get tough and they are not ready to lose. They create a new account and brutally destroy beginners. If those opponents can learn to lose at this stage of their experience, they are better players than such smurfs, regardless of the current skill level. Damage to your character is nothing in comparison to damage you may receive personally in a fighting match. Some opponents even want to make it more pronounced and emphasize emotional pressure with subtle forms of toxicity. If you want to play a fighting game, you just have to deal with this aspect. No, not with the toxicity, thank goodness for the FGC, but with the emotions of being on the losing side. Whatever you do, you will be there. Try to channel the frustration of losing a match into polishing up your skills and learning how to counter the things you lost to. It's not as emotionally intense as people tend to make it. This is the core of the genre. In a match between two players, one loses. It's kind of the name of the game. Don't take it as emotional damage. At least try not to. Rage quitting? What on earth could be a reason for this? And no, I won't fall into the trap of saying it's only a game. It's an important experience. And exactly because of this, there is no reason to disconnect before a match ends and throw your controller at the wall. Playing fighting games is a serious emotional practice. Learn to lose here, and you may slightly be better prepared for the ever so emotional outer world and your further experience within the genre. Emotions, attempts to play against skilled opponents, and experiment with new characters and unfamiliar fighting techniques. None of this gives you the right to ruin the experience of another person in the match. Learning to lose has two aspects, and we have been mainly talking about one so far, about your side. Oh well, you should do that. Accept the temporary increase of losses and take the path to self-development for getting more victories. Or, it's okay to lose. Everyone experiences this. No need to cry your eyes out. But listen, there's also another side to this process. No one likes to play with losers. Learning to lose doesn't mean becoming that person. Don't fall into this category and just behave decently. Imagine you're playing with a friend in one room. Would you curse in their face after getting big damage from a combo? You probably could if you're really good friends, but without a direct hateful meaning in your heart. All sorts of annoying stuff can be brought into a match. Some players feel an inevitable loss and just stop fighting properly. Would you like to be on the other side when you win, but not really win and only waste your time? Doing your best until the end, even if you know you are most likely losing, this sounds pretty decent. Perhaps learning to lose includes starting to enjoy the process more than just the result. This is essential if you are playing fighting games. I wonder what can better motivate people in the fighting game community than bringing examples of prominent professionals. It's like a hidden meterless super move. Did you know that, say, Sonic Fox does this or that, and people suddenly feel like, oh, I should probably do the same? Unblockable. So to wrap this all up, even the best players in the world lose. It's part of competing and playing in tournaments. And the real excitement happens when someone loses, falls into the lower bracket, and makes it to the grand final, and then resets and wins the tournament. Or when someone performs a comeback from a seemingly desperate situation. They never give up. Have you ever watched Daigo's practice streams? He does not win every single match. He wins and plays more. He loses and plays more. Just take your time to learn from this legend, even if you do not really play Street Fighter. Do you guys have this essential skill of not avoiding losses in tricky ways, accepting them, and growing from them in your fighting game experience? And do you generally consider this skill important? I look forward to seeing your opinion in the comments. Thanks for watching today's video all the way through. We really appreciate it. And be sure to check out our main platform, DashFight.com, for all the latest news, guides, and more. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.